Let us begin in 2018, when a single policy shift rippled through the fabric of Europe's automotive industry, an industry once considered the crown jewel of European innovation. President Donald Trump, under the banner of protecting American jobs, imposed a 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum. For European car manufacturers, this was not just a policy change, it was an ambush. The cost of essential materials skyrocketed, forcing companies like BMW and Volkswagen to scramble for alternatives. According to a 2022 report by the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, European car exports to the US dropped by 8% following the tariffs implementation. Some automakers moved production to the US to sidestep these costs, but this came with a price-strained supply chains and reduced profit margins. The stage was set for a perfect storm, but no one foresaw the broader implications of this economic maneuver. Markus Duesmann, CEO of Audi, stated in a 2023 interview with the Financial Times, "These tariffs introduced inefficiencies at every level of our operations. It's not just about costs. It's about losing agility in a highly competitive market." To understand how deeply this crisis impacted individuals, consider the story of Claudia Schmidt, a factory worker in Wolfsburg, Germany. Her 15-year career assembling car parts came to an abrupt end when her factory shut down in 2022 due to falling export orders. Stories like Claudia's paint a human face on a crisis that has upended countless lives across Europe. So, how did Europe adapt to this sudden blow? Stick around, because the story takes an even darker turn. The US rationale was simple: reduce dependency on foreign goods and bolster domestic manufacturing. But why single out Europe's automotive industry? The answer lies in its dominance. In 2017, Europe exported $47 billion worth of vehicles to the US, accounting for nearly 25% of American car imports. These numbers painted a target on Europe's back. The Trump administration justified the tariffs under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, claiming that imported vehicles threatened national security. Critics, however, saw this as a pretext. A 2021 Brookings Institution report argued that these measures were aimed at reshaping trade dynamics rather than addressing genuine security concerns. Could this strategic targeting be part of a larger plan? Consider this: weakening Europe's automotive sector creates room for US manufacturers to dominate not just domestically, but globally. The consequences are profound, as we'll explore in the next section. The economic consequences of these tariffs were devastating. Between 2018 and 2022, the European automotive sector shed nearly 150,000 jobs, according to a Politico Europe report. Factories scaled back production, and suppliers faced bankruptcy. Beyond job losses, consumers felt the sting. Car prices in the US rose by an average of 10% in 2019, according to a report from the Wall Street Journal, as manufacturers passed tariff costs onto buyers. European consumers faced dwindling options, with delayed launches of new models like the Volkswagen ID K4 due to supply chain disruptions. A 2022 survey by Eurostat revealed that 60% of European car manufacturers cited tariffs as a primary reason for revenue decline over the previous 4 years. Could Europe's economy, already battered, withstand another trade war? Let's examine this next. Europe's economy teeters on a knife's edge. Inflation in the Eurozone hit 8.4% in mid-2023, largely driven by energy costs and supply chain disruptions. Renewed tariffs would likely amplify these issues, pushing fragile economies like Italy and Spain toward recession. The automotive industry's struggles also have cascading effects. Small and medium enterprises, SMEs, which supply parts and materials, face insolvency. The result? Job losses, social unrest, and a diminishing tax base. Consider the closure of an auto parts supplier in Milan, Italy, which resulted in 300 workers losing their jobs overnight in 2023. For families dependent on these incomes, the economic fallout is deeply personal. Is Europe politically equipped to handle this brewing storm? Let's find out. The European Union is a complex entity, a collection of nations with competing interests. While Germany pushes for economic pragmatism, France advocates for strategic autonomy. This divergence weakens Europe's ability to present a united front. A case in point is the EU's response to the Inflation Reduction Act in the United States, which incentivizes American-made electric vehicles. European leaders criticized the IRA as discriminatory but struggled to formulate a cohesive response. A 2023 Reuters analysis highlighted this disunity, warning that Europe's fragmented approach could undermine its negotiating power. But how are individual countries like France, Germany, and Italy managing this crisis? Please like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us grow. Thank you. Germany, Europe's automotive powerhouse, is doubling down on electric vehicles. Volkswagen plans to invest 180 billion euros in EV development by 2030, but the shift comes with risks. German automakers are heavily reliant on Chinese batteries, making them vulnerable to geopolitical tensions. France, meanwhile, is pushing for reindustrialization. President Emmanuel Macron announced a €5 billion fund in 2023 to support domestic car manufacturers. However, critics argue this is too little, too late. French consumers are already seeing the effects, with limited EV options and rising vehicle costs. Italy faces an even graver challenge. Fiat Chrysler's merger with PSA Group created Stellantis, but the conglomerate's focus on profitability has led to plant closures, exacerbating unemployment in a country already grappling with 10% jobless rates. Could these domestic struggles lead to broader social unrest? Europe's economic turmoil is not just a boardroom issue, it's spilling into the streets. In 2023, protests erupted in France and Spain over rising costs of living and job losses in manufacturing sectors. Analysts warn that further economic shocks could fuel populist movements, undermining the EU's stability. In January 2024, a strike by German auto workers paralyzed production for 2 weeks, costing the industry an estimated 1.2 billion euros. One striking worker, Hans Muller, described the situation. "We're fighting for our livelihoods. If the industry collapses, so do our communities. Could the Franco-German partnership offer a path out of this crisis?" Historically, France and Germany have been the backbone of the European project. Their cooperation has driven key initiatives, from the creation of the euro to climate policies. But the automotive crisis is testing this alliance. Germany's export-driven economy prioritizes free trade, while France's protectionist stance seeks greater autonomy. Without a unified Franco-German strategy, Europe risks losing leverage in global trade negotiations. How might the European Central Bank intervene to stabilize this precarious situation? The European Central Bank, ECB, has limited tools to address a trade war but remains pivotal. In 2023, the ECB raised interest rates to combat inflation, which, while necessary, increased borrowing costs for manufacturers. Further rate hikes could stifle investment in EV technology. ECB President Christine Lagarde emphasized in a recent speech that monetary policy must balance inflation control with economic growth, but achieving this balance amid a trade war seems nearly impossible. Could these tariffs be part of a broader U.S. strategy to reshape global power dynamics? Some experts believe the U.S. tariffs are not just economic, but geopolitical. By weakening Europe's automotive industry, the U.S. strengthens its domestic market while reducing Europe's global influence. A 2023 Harvard Business Review article argued that these measures align with the U.S. strategy to counterbalance China's rise by reshuffling global alliances. The broader question remains, is this the end of the transatlantic partnership as we know it, or can Europe reinvent itself in time? That's what we'll explore next. Europe's hesitancy stems from its reliance on outdated systems and a lack of political will. The automotive industry's dependence on traditional manufacturing models has made it resistant to change. A 2022 McKinsey report noted that only 30% of European car manufacturers had transitioned to digital supply chains, compared to 60% in the US. This slow adaptation isn't limited to manufacturing. Europe's fragmented regulatory environment stifles innovation, with automakers bogged down by compliance requirements across 27 member states. In contrast, the US operates under a unified regulatory framework, giving its industries a competitive edge. But is there a way out for Europe? Diversification of trade partnerships could be one path forward. Diversification is the buzzword, but execution remains elusive. Europe has explored trade agreements with India and ASEAN countries, but these partnerships lack the scale to replace US markets. Moreover, Europe's reliance on China for EV components complicates efforts to reduce dependency. A promising avenue is Africa, where untapped markets and resources could serve as a counterbalance. The EU's 2023 Global Gateway Initiative aims to invest €300 billion in infrastructure projects across Africa. If successful, this could open new trade routes and reduce Europe's reliance on traditional partners. However, such shifts require time, and the automotive crisis demands immediate action. Which industries could spearhead Europe's recovery? Beyond automotive, sectors like renewable energy and tech show promise. The EU's Green Deal, which aims for carbon neutrality by 2050, could spur investment in solar and wind industries. In 2023 alone, Europe installed a record 50 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, according to Bloomberg NEF. Tech startups, particularly in AI and fintech, are also emerging as growth drivers. Estonia, often called the Silicon Valley of Europe, has led the way with innovations in digital banking and e-governance. These sectors could offset some of the losses from the automotive downturn. The question remains, will these efforts unify the EU or expose deeper fractures? The EU's unity has been tested before, by Brexit, the migrant crisis, and COVID-19. This automotive debacle is another stress test. While some countries push for solidarity, others prioritize national interests. Germany's focus on export-driven growth often clashes with France's calls for greater autonomy, creating fault lines within the Union. However, crises have a way of forging resilience. The EU's Next Generation EU Fund, which allocated €750 billion for post-pandemic recovery, demonstrated that collective action is possible. Whether this spirit can extend to the automotive crisis remains to be seen. Does this crisis offer Europe an opportunity to redefine its role in global trade? Every crisis is an opportunity. Europe's automotive industry might be down, but it's not out. By investing in sustainable technologies and diversifying trade partnerships, Europe can chart a new course. The continent's commitment to sustainability could become its competitive advantage, as consumers worldwide demand greener alternatives. However, this transformation will require bold leadership. Policymakers must address systemic inefficiencies and embrace innovation. As European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stated in a 2024 address, Europe's strength lies in its ability to adapt. Together, we can turn this crisis into a renaissance. Europe's automotive crisis is a microcosm of broader economic challenges. As tariffs strain transatlantic relations, the continent faces a pivotal moment. Will it adapt and thrive, or succumb to fragmentation? The answer lies in the choices made today. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.